Right, let's get to some breaking news just reaching us this afternoon. FIFA is looking at no longer having Visit Saudi as a Women's World Cup sponsor after a bit of a backlash by hosts Australia and New Zealand. Sky News sports correspondent Rob Harris has broken the story. So, Rob, give us the background and what are the developments today then?
There's been a huge backlash to this reported news a month ago that Visit Saudi could be a sponsor of the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand later this year. And there have been talks between the Australians, the New Zealand officials and FIFA in recent weeks. And there has been some indication, at least, that FIFA is open to revisiting this situation. And I've learnt today that FIFA is now looking at no longer having Visit Saudi as a sponsor of the Women's World Cup. We'd also had players in recent weeks, particularly Alex Morgan in the US, speaking out saying such a sponsorship didn't align with their values. And we've been hearing from Australians and New Zealanders as well saying the problem of having Visit Saudi as a sponsor of the Women's World Cup, it's a country, Saudi Arabia, without full equality for women, also with anti-LGBT laws, criminalising same-sex relations, and this made it so problematic, potentially having Visit Saudi as a sponsor. They were a sponsor of the Men's World Cup. It was never announced in a fanfare way by FIFA in Qatar, but it was on the backdrops, as it was for the Men's Club World Cup in Morocco in recent weeks as well. But certainly there's been this pressure applied by Australia and New Zealand to tell FIFA we don't want Visit Saudi as a sponsor of the World Cup, being the tourism agency of the Saudi government.
So they're looking into it. That's by no means it's a done deal that they won't be a sponsor. Where do you think this will go?
It is looking like they won't be a sponsor of this tournament.
Okay.
The fact, what I'm hearing from within FIFA is they are exploring the ways of no longer having Visit Saudi as a sponsor of the Women's World Cup. We're yet to discover if perhaps a different Saudi entity could be a sponsor of the tournament, but certainly deep ties between FIFA and Saudi Arabia that have only been growing in recent years. The Club World Cup will be in Saudi Arabia later this year, so a Premier League team could well be there if they do win the Champions League. So that is a sign of these deep relations. FIFA have been regularly visiting there. Saudi Arabia also in the running potentially for a World Cup bid for 2030 as well, for the Men's World Cup in conjunction with other countries. But I think FIFA have sensed the backlash to this and the unease, particularly in Australia and New Zealand, an event that will have public money put behind it as well. Not only England, of course, playing there, Ireland having qualified for a Women's World Cup for the first time as well. So it does seem look like FIFA is revisiting this sponsorship deal to realise that there is a lot of concern from within the game about the potential for Visit Saudi to be on the sponsor backdrops and things like that. OK, well,
that kind of makes sense. You were at the IFAB meeting, weren't you, at Westminster on Saturday, I think. There were some interesting developments there as well.
Yes, this is the meeting of football's lawmakers, for home nations on it, as well as FIFA. And I asked Gianni Infantino, first chance we've had to see him since the World Cup, about those One Love armbands and the dispute that dominated the build-up to the start of the tournament in Qatar, when England and Wales were threatened with sanctions if they went ahead and wore them. So they had to reluctantly decide not to wear the multicoloured armbands intended to draw attention to LGBT rights. In recent weeks, we've seen the England captain Leah Williamson wearing a One Love armband at the Arnold Clark Cup, and she wants to wear it at the Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. So I asked Infantino about this, and he accepts that the situation could have been handled better in Qatar, and they are now looking at trying to find a solution which could lead to the One Love armband being allowed to be worn at the Women's World Cup, as we've heard, obviously, players wanting to use the tournament as a platform. Several out players within the women's game who use their platforms as well to campaign and to be activists for LGBTQ rights as well. So it's something that you get the sense players do want to wear the armband at the tournament initiative that originally started in Netherlands. FIFA did, at the Men's World Cup, propose their own more generic armbands like no to discrimination, but certainly it's these One Love armbands that we already get the sense that England do want to be able to wear at the tournament, which starts in July.
OK, brilliant stuff as always. Good to speak to you. Thanks, Rob.